Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another technical analysis video. Today we're taking a look at Solana paired up with USDT. We're on the one-day Binance chart and we'll be giving my thoughts and opinions as to where I think the price action is heading next. As I get into today's video, guys, smash that like button. Let's see if we can hit 500 likes on today's video. Really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe and stay up to date with everything that's going on in the crypto space. Guys, let's kick things off right here with our daily time frame. So we did obviously have a trade heading out towards the $175, which we saw most recently come up here, get hit on the 5th of June, from which we saw rejection. We were hoping that this was going to hold its 50-day exponential moving average. That is the blue line coming through here. And if it couldn't hold the 50-day EMA, we were hoping it would hold the simple moving average, the yellow line. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. We can see here that that Solana did in fact, lose the 50-day simple moving average, the yellow line, on the 11th of June. We did move down quite aggressively with the rest of the crypto market, where we did see $145.20. And of course, we did have a brief rally back up towards equilibrium, which you can see right in here, just on the resistance at the previous swing highs that were also acting as previous support that were lost. This is the $162 range. Okay, so we know that we've unfortunately found big resistances right up here on the price chart, and of course we've seen some more negative price action on the back of it. Now, taking a look at our structure here from an Elliott Wave theory point of view, we were hoping that we would be done and that we could start to see that move upwards to $189, or more specifically this little box right here, $189 to $239. However, the slippage to the downside does change things quite a bit, so we need to go ahead and review where we currently sit. So here we can see that we had the previous swing to the downside, bottoming out just over here on the 26th of May. This obviously led us to our swing high, $175 most recently, more specifically $175.60. And then of course we can see that we did in fact start to see slippage to the downside, where we've come down right into our expected range between 1 and 1.236 on the Fibonacci sequencing scale. Okay, this area is $144 to $149, and so we've come right into that range that we would have expected us to kind of collapse down into, this being a three-wave correction like so. Now also within this little note, it's probably worth kind of noting in fact that we see again this confirmation of an area. Now this three-wave structure has met minimum expectations, has still potentially got a little bit deeper to go. Okay, we might see $142 to $138 before we are actually done here. So I'm going to mark this up as a potential area of interest for Solana. Either way, we are imminent for a reversal in the price action, in my opinion, meaning that whether we move down just a little bit more or not, we will be moving more aggressively to the upside, which if we now take into consideration all of these structured patterns, we can now kind of give ourselves a bit of a targeted range for that next move. I'm going to take the current swing low as our potential bottom, and then I'll show you where this has the potential to go. Okay, we are of course going to lower our target range, and we're going to actually bring it right in line with our expectations. Basically, we're going to be looking for a move right in here, which will be the 50 to 123.6% levels, $170 to $216. That there will be the approximate range for Solana's next surge to the upside, which will be a pretty decent move. If we kind of look at it from a percentage point of view, we're talking about 17% upwards to about 48%. So again, add some leverage and it's not that bad of a move at all. There is the potential for this to change into something slightly different, which we'd notice if we were to exceed that high range of $216. But for now, this is looking like a WXYXZ pattern, where we can then start to talk about more reversals to the downside. We have got the swing high up here at $210, which could be a signal that we actually see more of a ranging market for Solana over a longer term, more specifically a three-wave pattern to this effect. Okay, this could take us out towards kind of July, August time, by the time this thing's ready to actually launch to the upside in a more meaningful way. Now, as I zoom out here, you can still see that we're in an aggressively bullish pattern overall. We have a really strong low area that is not likely to get broken, although our 200-day EMA may actually get lost at some point in the near future. On a scale, we are, of course, on a bullish trajectory. Ultimately, we are still in a bullish pattern on a longer time frame. Ultimately, we are still actually tracking very bullishly here for Solana, where we have the potential for some pretty significant run in the future. Now, if I roll this up into a weekly time frame, you can kind of see the expectations over a longer period, where we are talking about $1,861 as a potential area of interest. Now, when we take a look at the weekly time frame, we obviously had that 5-wave move. We're in a corrective action at the moment, which still could slip down a lot further in terms of its price action. So a lot of eyes will be on the Fed over in the US as to whether or not they do actually cut interest rates, which will cause mass panic in the market and see significant reduction in prices. That could be one of the last opportunities to get a fantastic deal on Solana ahead of that next surge to the upside. On this weekly time frame, we have a weak high indicating that this all-time high that we saw previously back in 2021 isn't likely to be a major resistance for us. This is also a part of a much bullish pattern overall, and so therefore we're not terribly too concerned over a macro position on Solana. From our volume profiles, as we're having this correction at the moment, volumes are dipping quite aggressively, indicating to us that there isn't actually that much appetite for selling Solana at these prices, meaning that we are likely to see a continuation of the move to the upside once the markets start to improve a bit, once the kind of confidence starts to come on back and market sentiment generally it starts to improve. If we go ahead and throw on the stochastic RSIs, you can see that our stochastic RSI is down in this oversold area on the weekly time frame, along with the daily as well, indicating that we're likely to see a significant shift to the upside in the coming weeks. Now, of course, I cannot time the market. It may be something that takes a lot longer to play out than maybe a lot of people are willing to kind of admit or kind of have the patience for. But for the most part, my expectations are that we're going to see pretty much a pretty rough couple of months or so. I reckon by late August, September, things will start to look a lot more positive. But until then, my expectations are see some volatility, see some liquidity getting grabbed out of the market, but no major movements in the market overall. Now, if we go ahead and throw on the divergence indicator, this is showing us with the RSI, the relative strength index, in yellow, also showing some downward momentum still here. We did have hidden bullish divergence on the April 22nd candle, which if we go ahead and take a look at, we did see a little bit of a run to the upside, which is why I predicted out $175. That there is obviously an indication of things that we have seen most recently. And, for the most part, we've seen some pretty decent prices overall. Ultimately, though, I am still tracking for some pretty decent runs in Solana on the longer term. So although this is short-term volatility for Solana, I'm not overly too concerned about the price action at the moment. Now, of course, depending on whether you are over-leveraged or whether you're just looking for a deal, I do expect more volatility and I do expect some cheaper prices for Solana on that medium time frame. Although it may actually be something that we see first, a bit of a surge upwards before we get that move to the downside. Ultimately, I think we're going to see a lot more volatility in the market generally, and Solana is going to be one of those projects where we do see a lot of liquidity being extracted from the market. Ultimately, I expect more of a ranging market bouncing between key levels of support and resistance, which will then lead to more liquidations overall and more market makers making profit. So be really cautious with Solana. I do expect to see some price surges and some price crashes in the kind of longer term. But ultimately, in the next bullish market, with the one that's coming up after a Fed pivot, which I suspect will be Q3 2024, we are going to see a fantastic bull run for Solana, where $1,800 would be an approximate target that I have in mind. Now, of course, there's many reasons and many catalysts behind why that might be. We can obviously talk about whether or not Solana is going to have an ETF and all those things, and you can let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments down below. If you found today's video useful, smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe, and if you haven't checked out this video, what are you waiting for? Check it out and stay well informed.